Oh boy, oh man, oh Nelly. Looks like someone's been a bad little boy. If you missed my video from yesterday, I covered a game called PLAYERUNKNOWN'S BATTLEBOXES. It was a game that I randomly bought and downloaded onto Steam and played it, which is something I normally do. Now, it seems like that game is no longer available on the storefront. If I'm being honest, that's probably a good thing because the game was empty. Like, it was a loot box game where you opened up loot boxes that had nothing in them, which is really ironic considering the game itself also had nothing, so the fact that it's gone, I can't say I'm too angry about. I was first made aware of this by Mellow Online and SVD of Sentinels of the Store. Basically, they're part of a Steam group that tries to find all the shady crap going on around Steam and make it more known to the general user. They're really cool guys, so if you want to go and follow them, there is a link to their Steam group in the description below. Now, games getting removed off Steam is nothing new. However, there are a couple things I want to talk about in this particular instance because I have reason to believe that this may be due to a DMCA takedown. Now, I'm going to make it very clear, I don't know if this is 100% for certain. This is all speculation based on a little bit of evidence and some theorizing from myself, SVD, Mellow Online, and a couple other people. So we did a bit of digging and we found some weird things that were going on in regards to how the game was removed off of Steam in comparison to other titles that get taken off the storefront. Alright, so let's talk about possible reasons this game could have been removed from Steam and kind of eliminate them as we go. So, the first one is the developer or publisher voluntarily removing it. I don't think that's the case, and I'll tell you why. So when I was talking to Mellow Online, who looks into this stuff way more in depth than I usually do, he was very quick to point out that when a developer or publisher voluntarily removes their game from Steam, there's usually a way to go and still obtain the game, or there's a link that'll tell you where to go and buy it. He was even kind enough to actually send me a link to a different game that the developer voluntarily did remove from Steam, and as you can see, there is still a way to obtain it via a Steam package. And when you try to find that for PLAYERUNKNOWN'S BATTLEBOXES, it coincidentally isn't there. So it doesn't seem like the game was willingly taken off by the developer. Alright, so it probably wasn't voluntarily removed by the developer, so let's talk about maybe Valve stepping in and taking it down themselves. I don't think this is likely either because Valve generally doesn't remove games off of Steam unless they're like repeated offenders of the Steam TOS and stuff like that. Usually, no matter how bad a game is, and we know this from experience at this point, they don't really care. So the idea that Valve might have taken it down themselves, in my opinion, is very unlikely. It's still kinda possible because maybe this is the one game that they were like, hey, you're trying to take the name of PLAYERUNKNOWN'S Battlegrounds, that's one of the most profitable games on Steam, so we're not gonna let you do that, because we like money. Maybe they did it for that reason. Again, that's speculation, I have no idea. So the third and final reason that a game might get taken off of Steam is because the copyright holder, or someone who thinks they're the copyright holder, issues a DMCA takedown request because they believe that they own some of the copyright in the game, and it might have been used without permission. And this has to be done by the copyright owner themselves. Valve will not step in and do that for them. It has to be like the person who made the content originally issuing the takedown notice. Basically, it works the same way as YouTube does. If someone steals your YouTube video or steals content and uploads it to YouTube, the copyright holder has to go onto that video and file it themselves. YouTube will not automatically do that in most circumstances. So to me, the DMCA takedown notice is the most likely one, and I'll explain why. So the name PLAYERUNKNOWN'S BATTLEBOXES is obviously a reference to PLAYERUNKNOWN'S Battlegrounds, and they have very similar names. Now, having a similar name by itself is not necessarily copyright infringement or trademark infringement, but it becomes a bigger problem when your marketing or when your entire idea behind a game could convince other people that you are an official licensed product for another game or another experience. And there are plenty of games on Steam that have similar names to other ones that take inspiration from it or try to make satire or poke fun at them. In fact, there's even a bunch of other games on Steam right now that use PLAYERUNKNOWN in the title. They usually just spell it differently or make it slightly different at all. Conversely though, PLAYERUNKNOWN'S BATTLEBOXES didn't really try to differentiate themselves, and that's where the big problem happens. Not only did they spell PLAYERUNKNOWN'S exactly the same way, but they recreated the same logo as well to make it look very similar to the actual game PLAYERUNKNOWN'S Battlegrounds, and when you combine that with a very similar title, it's easy to see why a company like Bluehole, who owns the rights to PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds right now, might have an issue with that and may have issued a DMCA takedown. Because at a certain point, you're not really making a satire, you're more trying to use a name and a existing property to rip off or to try to get some players or attention for yourself. Now, it's entirely arguable as to whether or not PlayerUnknown's battle boxes would fall under fair use or fair dealing, depending on where you are, and whether or not it would count as something like satire. However, it is very important to know as well that fair use and fair dealing is meant to be a defense against your content getting taken down or someone claiming that it is copyrighted. You can't just say something's protected under fair use because it's not. That's meant to be a legal defense after someone tries to take down your content after claiming it is copyright infringement. Now, in most cases, you'd think that someone who is trying to issue a copyright notice would know their rights. Obviously, that doesn't happen. We know that from personal experience, don't we? But I would assume that Bluehole or their representatives probably know their stuff regarding basic copyright law. One would hope, at least. And if they did indeed file a DMCA, again, totally speculative. I've actually reached out to them on email. They haven't responded to me. I don't really expect them to. Anyways, I feel like they would probably have a pretty easy time getting this one taken down because it is so close to the official name for their game that it's really hard to insert something like a fair use defense. Adding on to that, I feel like the creator of a game called PlayerUnknown's Battle Boxes probably doesn't want to go to court, so if they want to get their game back up onto Steam, if it was taken down due to a DMCA, they would at that point have to go and take legal action against Bluehole, and then it would like become a whole thing. They probably don't want to do that. So again, while we don't know for sure why it was taken down, it is strongly pointing towards a DMCA takedown. Some more evidence of that as well includes things like the developer of PlayerUnknown's Battle Boxes' other games are still on Steam. Usually when Valve steps in against a developer or a publisher, they will remove all their games. At least that's what we've seen in past histories with companies like Digital Homicide. The other ones that this developer has made are very much still available on Steam like normal. So it, again, doesn't seem like Valve was really all that involved in it. So yeah, I mean, it could be anything. I'm thinking DMCA takedown. I don't know personally though. Am I really surprised? No. I think in my last video, the first thing I said was I'm pretty sure that they didn't give permission for them to use the PlayerUnknown's name in their game and make it look so similar. And given how protective that Bluehole seems to be over PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, we know this from past experience when they didn't even like that Epic was making Fortnite's Battle Royale mode, it wouldn't surprise me if they did step in. So yeah, I mean, if you're gonna make a parody or a satire game, you do need to differentiate it a little bit and maybe not use like the developer name of the other game that you're satirizing, because that could really confuse people and there could be legal grounds to take action and have your game removed. Maybe instead of calling it PlayerUnknown's Battle Boxes, call it like PlayerKnown's Battle Boxes, or do something to make it not exactly the same so that you have some sort of defense when Bluehole comes knocking on your door and is like, yo, you can't do that, we don't like that, you've recreated our entire logo and basically used the same name, that's kinda not cool. And considering they were distributing it on the same platform that PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds is also on, kinda adds to it and gives them more of a reason to potentially get involved again, if that's what happened. I can't say I'm angry about it, because I played that game yesterday, it's barely a video game. I might not even classify it as a video game, because there's not even a fail state in it, because there's no progression at all. It's not a good game. It tried to make a name for itself off the back of a very popular game on Steam. I don't think that's okay. And it's a blatant Unity asset flip as well, so see ya, bye.